Shirley here with Serious Talisman, and I have basically I have a message to say to the people that are listening to that. So first of all, a little bit of a disclaimer. I'm using the access that I have to social media as a way to inform. This would require for a good for a good this would require, let's just say, larger audience, but I'm making an initial experiment. And um, let's take a look at tomorrow's chart, because tomorrow is Friday where I am. And yes, at about this time tomorrow, um, I will be I would be using a candle as a first experiment, and um, I'm going to take the talismanic art, and I'm going to pinpoint Sirius. I'm going to use a Jupiter hour with Jupiter and Sirius, ruled by the moon. Venus will be closer to Procyon, and I'm going to do a ritual of calling. It's going to be very mild, because I'm going to do a ritual of calling Sirius, Jupiter, that is Zeus, Venus, and Procyon, and of course Selene. I'm going to consecrate this white candle. I will try. I want to open the camera when I do that. I might be filming the aftermath, because unlike usual talisman, I'm going to make an experiment on coining that candle as though it was a currency. And the reason being is because, and first of all, I want to give a disclaimer. So I've been looking to the Rothschilds' history, and they have been disincluded from trade because of anti-Semitism. They became the Rothschilds, um, and they have excluded women. And the currency that is supposed to bring us to the golden ages is supposed to be of the 6-9, which means people know the 6-9 is a tantric position, but this is basically both the feminine and the masculine uniting with one another and balancing the Kundalini energy. So there is a breathing practice to that. To be very honest, I'm in recovery from the current economy. Okay, let's just put it that way. So it's going to be a very humble ritual, where I'm going to consecrate a currency that is based on a good balance between the feminine and masculine, and it's going to be gender inclusive. And the ritual itself, other than calling on the planetary positions, um, and consecrating the candle, I might use some small seizures to inscribe on the candle, is not going to include any sacrifice nor charity. And why am I saying not going to include any sacrifice nor charity? Um, because the concept of charity has been used to double dealing, and I'm not against charity, but I'm making an experiment here where people are going to have enough so that they wouldn't need charity, and that's the point of that type of currency, to usher us to the golden ages, where the currency is simply used for exchange and not for money laundering or usury. And this is an experiment. It's taking on people like the Rothschilds and saying, okay, what is missing with the Rothschild dynasty? Well, the rituals are not rituals that we see, and this is why I want to open the camera so you will see the consecration, and you will see it's very humble. It's not going to be something bombastic. But the point is that for the age of air, we need a currency that is transparent, and transparent in the ritual that it's making. For a sake, like I don't have no intention to commit suicide in the following 48 hours. Okay, um, but also um, the Rothschild have casted women away, and while they did practice gene diversity later, those things were missing in the lineage, and they were born, before the French Revolution, before the American Revolution. Actually, they financed some of it, so. So it's not about judging the Rothschild, but actually seeing what went wrong with these people that were disincluded from trade, and how can we attend to what is missing. This is absolutely for the Rothschild. It can be used as taking my experiment and saying, okay, we don't want it done outside of the Rothschilds. Let's do it, and that would mean inclusivity for women and no ritual abuse when it comes to the rituals around currency and banking. And I'm okay with such a result. So I'm absolutely not posing a competition or threat to the Rothschilds or the Rockefeller, but simply tending to what is missing, making an experiment that would increase wealth and would resolve the issue that the Rothschilds were initially disincluded, and that is the disinclusion of women. Um, and the lack of balance and this is exactly what the Egyptians were taught, whether they practiced that or not. So the Egyptians were taught, and we're turning to Sirius, the Egyptians were taught the 6-9, which is the balancing of the feminine energy and the masculine energy in one person. People translated that to being androgynous. Nothing necessarily to do with that. People can be androgynous, but it's not necessarily to do with that. But this brings good harmonious relations for Sirius. I'm going to read to you what Christopher Warnock inscribes when he talks about Sirius. And he is the person that I'm indebted to because he brought talismanic practice into common practice, and as well as the Kapaks, namely Caitlin Kapak, that brought that into everyday hair band or shampoo or body butter. And you basically can consecrate anything, can consecrate a note and use that. And the Sirius is about honor, favor, peace, loving relations between a husband and wife, and that can be a husband and husband, wife and wife, reconciliation. It is also is considered a dog star, and right now it is rising, so it is appropriate. Again, very, very, very humble ceremony. I would like there to be cameras open. You might even see the mess in my room, because the point is to create a symbol of a currency that is taking what the Egyptians were taught for the high society. And in Cancer, Sirius is in tropical Cancer, it is actually the place of common knowledge. Okay? So back then it would be the constellation of Gemini, which would be civil society, and the twins, which gave it perhaps an androgynous symbolism. But we're talking about the common people, and everyday common people being able to practice this energy balance, so that they have, once it was considered the wisdom of the few, but our humanity cannot sustain with that being the wisdom of the few. And this is also why the Masonic rites that were funded after the Rosicrucians, the Masonic rites and the Illuminati were funded by the Rothschilds, and that disclusion of women, again, the Rothschilds were in line with their time. Okay, we're talking about something since Hellenistic tradition, and this is not judging history. It's just understanding that as we move forward to golden ages, what was sacred, secret knowledge, and because women were disincluded, it was affecting humanity in a certain way that perhaps was fit to dark ages. Perhaps the entire exploration of anti-Semitism and the secluded ones was a teaching that people needed to have when Aries was in Pisces, for example, and then before that in Aquarius. So the secluded scientists um, and the necessity to understand and to progress humanity through a certain way. But as we go into the next phase, we're actually going into a place where, for humanity to survive, entire humanity need not only those sacred teachings being common knowledge and common practice, which is way easier than people think, okay? Because of the control and politics mechanisms around that, it has been considered sacred hidden knowledge, and this also brought to the persecution of the Masonic rites and of Illuminati. And anything that JFK talks about, JFK had a point on Procyon. Venus is going to be adjacent to Procyon tomorrow, and this is where we are embarking away from the bubble pop of power into a more aligned frequency where people are not disincluded, because there is a feminine masculine balance that allows for all genders to exist and have prosperity, have sexual well-being, have intimacy, and have the ability to exchange goods in a way that is actually allowing for the prosperity and abundance that the age of Aquarius is requiring. Okay, that the architecture, that where a house is actually housing, where the food is actually nourishing. So this is a great point to begin. The reason these teachings were so sacred, and now you can find them online, but they were so sacred because humanity was at a certain point where it was just either genuinely not ready for that, or the technology didn't exist to spread the news. And what is left is basically for the rituals around currency to be such that do not include human trafficking or child trafficking. Now, again, it's a simple candle that I have, so it's probably not the best ethically sourced. If you have better ethically sourced, but today, to have better ethically sourced produce, you would need to partake in human trafficking through your investments and other rituals. And this is why it is kind of like the best we could come up with to begin to purify the energy towards the golden ages. So this is going to be tomorrow. It is going to be around 10:13, around 10 a.m. Where I am, which is the Middle East. By the way, it is going to be consecrated in Israel/Palestine, but without those rituals. Venus is going to be with Procyon, and it's going to be an emphasis given to that. So I'm going to call on those. And yes, I might have a couple of more candles from the candles that I bought for the house, and this is going to be a certain type of currency, which first of all, it's a talisman, and the talisman is around currency, and the currency here is going to be around something that goes well with not only sovereignty, but supporting the conditions and the upbringing that supports individual sovereignty and the common people. Yes, I'm not going to trade these per se. It's just going to be an experiment. And it's something that so many people have been manifesting, good ideas about money, good relationships with money. What we are missing is that the actual currency will be prescribed to, and those candles perhaps would be able to be lit with currency that is in line of what I said, that is not doing usury, that is not doing ritual abuse, and that is inclusive to all people, regardless of gender, race, and so on and so forth. So this taking upon the teachings that I have from astrological magic, okay, from the Kopaks, from Christopher Warnock, the knowledge that I have of astrology from my teachers, okay, whereas Chris Brennan, whereas Lada Duncheva, and honing in on my personal moon, which is next to Sirius, the teachings around Egypt, and bringing that to something that really is an embarking on the golden ages. So the date for the date for this recording of this episode. I'm going to try to publish it as much as I can by tomorrow, because people are supposed to be, the new standard for that, people are supposed to be able to see the ritual that is done, okay, to see the ritual. No precondition, no other rituals but this ritual, okay? No hidden rituals on the consecration of money. Look at this beautiful 22 and Venus 22, and as well as this ascendant approaching Spica, Mercury hour, Mercury 8 degrees Leo, Sun 26 Leo. So people are supposed to be able to see the ritual, no other ritual but that ritual, no human sacrifice. The ritual is supposed to be transparent, and the talisman that is imprinted like a candle can be lit during the printing of, let's say, digital or the digitation of currency, and that is supposed to be visible as well. Okay, full transparency, age of air, holding ourselves accountable to ourselves and preventing extortion calls, preventing human trafficking, preventing child trafficking. It is supposed to be of use by all people, so that even if that the energy kind of like got dirty, it's always able to go to its purified form, because it started with a purified essence. Again, I absolutely, this cell phone made of certain minerals, this candle, I absolutely don't have the full access to the ethically sourced, and it's a process of purification, and the interaction with that currency or with that talisman, which is also going to be displayed in the open, so that people can derive from that. And it's going to be kind of like a Wikipedia. So when it comes to the safety and security around the energy of this talisman, it's going to be on because it is open, then people will be able to cleanse the energy of that talisman, so not to divert it into other energy. It happened to be that the color of the candle is white. It is the color of the moon, so people may use the video of the consecration to consecrate other talismans. They will need to know the principle of astrological magic, so the sort of printing of the currency will be done with elections that are benefic for humanity. And though this currency could be held as a talisman to do with the money rituals that are benefic, so developing good relations, which is a moon relation. I don't ascribe to the moon being a point of harvesting of souls. To the people that do, they might use another thing, but for talismans, we use the moon. In the current strategy, in the current plan that I work, you can, of course, embellish on that and change that and innovate on that technology. Um, so Sirius rising is going to be Venus day, it's going to be Jupiter hour, and the moon conjoining in between Sirius and Procyon. It's going to be consecrated in Israel/Palestine. For those who wonder about me, so I did not serve in army. I'm not fully vegan nor fully carnivore. Yes, I was born on this land. Um, and mainly okay, is mainly what I do is astrology. I have a certain disability, so I deal so I cannot work like in a job, but it came because jobs were corrupted, and to begin to work I began to tend to the currency. So this is what the ritual is supposed to be about. Again, instead of ritual abuse, actually have a ritual that's not abusive, is not based on all these horrors that make money blocks and money wealth for people that try to do their best to work on their money mindset and so on, and that can be a complementary to that practice. Very humble. I'm not a priestess. I didn't fast for 2 weeks before that. If I'm going to be bringing some herbs, then it's going to be quite spontaneous, okay? And it's also great for consecrating talismans. The ascendant is also going to be in Libra, which perhaps will be closer to Spica as well, and I might integrate Spica for fair trade. So wheat is appropriate. for marigold is appropriate for the procyon. Pearls I would not use, but other people can use. Moon jasmine is appropriate, and for Zeus a clover is also appropriate. I may have a jar of honey, and for the honey I don't do. All I do is consecrate the honey. Okay, it's not supposed to. It's not supposed to do anything other. Okay, no dark rituals. Very simply put, no dark rituals, and it's going to be in an open setting so that the security of the ritual is going to be kind of like the open blockchain, or the open, kind of like the Linux. Okay, where people can purify the energy. Again, fit to the spirit of Aquarius, of Pluto in Aquarius, um, and feed to something that's supposed to be a age of air style. Again, it's an experiment, and I'm posting this video to notify people, and it's beginning to establish a standard that is both accessible to the people. It's not too elaborate, not something that people can't stand, not something that would be a gatekeeping to others, as well as having some sort of a standard of transparency and a standard of the ritual being ethical. So the candle is probably not the purest, just a candle that I bought at some dollar store. Have garlic here for some reason, I don't know, and that's it. Okay, so Venus Day, Jupiter hour where I'm at, territory Palestine, Spica is going to be incorporated, Procyon, Sirius, Jupiter, Venus, and the Moon. I will wait for Venus to come out of the 22nd degree, so we're not doing the murder degree. Okay. And yes, and this is can be used as an inspiration for imprinting currencies and breakthrough. Okay, a type of a breakthrough that is not based on any personality cult or any stuff like that. Okay. And that is something we were absolutely missing. And again, it's not competition for the existing, whether it's the Seven, whether it's the Skulls and Bones, whether it's the Rothschilds. It's simply something that they can. I even advise to try to see if they can incorporate that into their own, so to purify their own banking system in a way that sustains the tradition, keeps anti-Semitism at bay. Yes, allows humanity to sustain, prevents the fall of empire, and usher us to the golden ages with a little bit of it's not an ego death, but it's a moon-based talisman. Okay, it's not a solar based talisman, and yet Sirius is considered the bigger sun. So this is again honing on tradition and bringing inclusivity, which is so needed to that tradition. There is square relations between Venus and the Ubermensch project in Aries, which was the sister of Mars and thrived on chaos. And this is where we're going to hold into the power of chaos and division to establish a new consensus, which is essential to scientific growth, political growth, and economic growth, and the peace and the ability to look into what needs to be corrected within ourselves and have a peace and reconciliation that is actually based on authenticity. So we're going to hold attention with Aries rather than ignore that. And there is going to be a square with Chiron, which is a consideration for Venus squaring Chiron. I might call on Andromeda constellation to hold that tension, to not ignore that tension, to not try to pacify that tension, but to hold that tension that does allow for growth to be and still allows for peace to be within the process of change. So thank you for watching.